As a veteran backer of the NATO transatlantic alliance, Joe Biden chose Europe for his first trip abroad. Observers are closely watching what is expected to be a tense meeting between the U.S. president and his Turkish counterpart, Recep Tayyip Erdogan. The two men have exchanged harsh rhetoric recently, with Biden referring to Erdogan as an autocrat on the campaign trail last year, and Erdogan saying last month that Biden has bloody hands for what he said was the U.S. leader's support for Israel in the Gaza conflict. And asked about NATO member Turkey's controversial purchase of the S-400 missile defense system from Russia in 2019, State Department spokesperson Ned Price had this to say.
We have never offered any indication that we are willing to accept Turkey's possession of the S-400 system. Again, it's incompatible with Turkey's status as a NATO ally.
Some foreign policy experts say that for years now, Erdogan has not acted as if Turkey wants to remain a trusted NATO ally.
An ally does not purchase an air and missile defense system from the leading threat to the alliance, Russia. You don't do that. We all but begged Ankara and Erdogan not to do that, and they brushed aside our concerns.
Cato Institute's Doug Bandow says the U.S. should rethink Turkish ties.
My argument is that Turkey no longer plays the role that it once did, that the fact that Turkey once was a very strategically important ally doesn't mean that it still is. It makes sense for the U.S. and other members of NATO to step back and ask the question, is it still play that kind of role?
Other analysts point to Erdogan's repression of dissent at home, saying it is incompatible with core principles NATO members have committed to, including the rule of law and freedom of the press.
I think there's going to be a strong push from the United States to reinvigorate a focus on that, not because they're an end in themselves, but because there's a link between respect for those values and principles and the way our adversaries try to threaten NATO's political cohesion.
Still, some observers say the Turkish president is eager to improve strained relations and could be considering a helpful role as the United States and NATO prepare to withdraw their military forces from Afghanistan.
There are talks between the U.S. and Turkey and NATO about Turkish forces securing Kabul airport in Afghanistan in the wake of the NATO withdrawal. We could see some kind of announcement there, but I think that Turkey is likely to drive a pretty hard bargain in seeking concessions or financial compensation for that effort.
Turkey has been a steadfast and important NATO partner in Afghanistan for decades, and experts say NATO members would welcome Ankara taking over security at the Kabul airport.
I've seen stories suggesting that Turkey might depart earlier than expected. That would cause big problems for force protection and the ability to establish a future relationship with the Afghan government, security forces, and army. And I think that is critical to stability in Afghanistan and in the region more broadly.
Observers say a role for Turkey at the airport in Kabul could be a starting point to help Biden and Erdogan rebuild trust. Cindy Sain, VOA News.